The rain in Crime Alley usually smells like ozone and trash. Tonight, it reeked of sulfur. Batman dropped from the gargoyle just as the cultist finished reading the passage. He didn't interrupt a crime, he interrupted a catastrophe. The cultists didn't cough like they'd been hit by Joker gas. Their spines snapped backward. Thermal scans showed their body temperatures plummeting to 40 degrees instantly, yet their muscle tension tripled. This wasn't biology. It was something worse. Can the world's greatest detective survive a threat that ignores the laws of physics? Let's find out. The biological misdiagnosis, Arkham Asylum. The signal didn't travel by air or fluid. It traveled by intent. Within moments, the anomaly jumped from the alley to the one place in Gotham with the highest concentration of psychic volatility, Arkham Asylum. Batman's initial diagnosis is logical, but wrong. He treats this hyper-aggressive pathogen, similar to a modified rabies strain or a weaponized derivative of the venom steroid used by Bane. In a standard outbreak, you have patient 0 and a transmission vector, a bite, a spore, or fluid exchange. But the Deadite force functions more like a quantum signal. It is non-local and instantaneous. There is no incubation period. 1 second, you're a schizophrenic inmate. The next, you're a puppet for a Kandarian demon. Batman breaches the West Wing to secure the facility. He finds Killer Croc. But Waylon Jones isn't acting like a reptile anymore. He's laughing. A high-pitched, multi-tonal shriek that shouldn't come from a larynx that size. Here is where we run the numbers on hysterical strength. Your brain has a natural governor. It limits your muscle contraction to about 60% of potential output to prevent you from tearing your own tendons or shattering your bones. A Deadite has no governor. It drives the host body like a stolen car in a demolition derby. When Deadite Croc swings, he isn't just using his massive strength. He's using 100% of his fiber potential. He tears his own rotator cuff to deliver a blow that cracks Batman's ceramic chest plate. The force of the impact is equivalent to a compact car hitting a brick wall at 40 miles per hour. Batman's ribs fracture, not from the fist, but from the kinetic transfer through his armor. Batman counters with a standard takedown, pressure points, and concussive strikes. This is where his survival rating drops to a tier D, failing. He is losing this fight. Why? Because his martial arts rely on pain compliance and biological reaction. You strike at the solar plexus to stun the diaphragm. You twist the wrist to force a submission, but you can't stun a corpse. The Deadite inhabiting Croc doesn't care if the host's arm is broken. It just uses the broken arm like a flail. Batman realizes the physical trauma isn't working, so he switches to chemical suppression. He injects Croc with enough tranquilizer to drop a bull elephant. In any scientific reality, this ends the fight. The neurotransmitters should block the signals, forcing the body into sleep. But the eyes don't close. The laughter gets louder. This is the critical error in the man-of-science approach. Sedatives work on a biological nervous system. They interrupt the chemical signals between the brain and the muscles. But a Deadite doesn't use the nervous system. It manipulates the meat directly, like a hand inside a puppet. The brain is just rotting gray matter. The consciousness is external. Batman's trying to reboot a computer that isn't even plugged in. As Croc throws Batman through a reinforced security door, the tactical display flickers red. The infection isn't contained. It's not just in the inmates. The shadows themselves seem to be stretching, moving toward the city center. The asylum has fallen, and Batman is retreating for the first time in years. He knows how to fight monsters, but he doesn't know how to fight a nightmare that can't wake up. The infection vector has moved beyond the asylum walls, and Gotham's about to wake up to hell on earth. The physics of possession, GCPD stage. By the time the Batmobile turbines scream to a halt outside the Gotham City Police Department, the siege is already a massacre. The precinct is burning. This isn't a riot. It's a slaughterhouse. The officers aren't fighting criminals. They're fighting their own dead partners. And the dead are talking. This is the psychological component of the infection. Deadites don't just kill. They torment. They access the synaptic residual memories of the host brain, digging up secrets only the dead would know. They taunt Commissioner Gordon about his daughter, about his failures, using the voices of men he buried years ago. This destabilizes the defenders, spiking cortisol levels and reducing combat efficiency to 0. Batman hits the fray, and immediately the durability equation shifts. Why doesn't a Deadite stop when you break its ribs? Because pain is just a biological notification system, and the user has turned off notifications. When a human takes a hit, the nociceptors scream, "Stop." The Deadite consciousness ignores this. They don't just possess the body. They burn it like fuel. They'll run on broken femurs. They'll bite with shattered jaws. Their durability isn't magic. It's the total absence of biological preservation instincts. Let's look at the material science. Batman's suit utilizes a non-Newtonian fluid layer under a Kevlar titanium weave. It hardens on impact to disperse force. It's designed for ballistic trauma from human adversaries. But Deadite force generation is structural, not muscular. They lock the joints and throw their entire mass into strikes without bracing for recoil. Batman's taken impacts rated at 2,000 newtons of force. His armor holds, but the kinetic energy travels through the suit. His organs are taking a beating. He's bleeding internally. The suit's designed to stop a knife, not a supernatural hydraulic press. Batman realizes the math has changed. The no-kill rule is based on the sanctity of life, but there is no life here. These are meat puppets. To survive, Batman has to shift his parameters. Incapacitation is impossible. You can't knock out what isn't awake. He has to exploit a loophole. Technically, you cannot kill what is already dead. The moral code remains intact, but the method becomes brutal. He switches from martial arts designed to submit to martial arts designed to dismantle. He realizes that to win, he must become a surgeon of violence. This moves his survival rating to a tier C. Adapting, he stops aiming for the head, which does nothing, and starts aiming for the mechanics of movement. He needs a force multiplier. In the movies, Ash uses a shotgun. Batman doesn't use guns, but he understands ballistics. He modifies his grapple gun, overriding the pneumatic safety valves. Instead of firing a hook to pull himself up, he fires a tungsten carbide dart at close range designed to shatter bone. It is a kinetic boomstick. He targets the structural weak points: the knees, the elbows, the spine. It's simple engineering. If you can sever the tendon, the muscle cannot pull the bone. If you shatter the joint, the lever cannot lift the weight. A Deadite without legs can still crawl, but a Deadite without limbs is just a noisy torso. It's a gruesome application of physics. If you remove the fulcrum, the lever can't generate force. He clears the precinct, leaving a pile of twitching, shouting limbs behind him, but the victory's short-lived. A distress signal cuts through the static on a secure channel. It's not the police. It's a specific frequency reserved for the Bat family. Someone else is out there. The Fallen Sun. The Easter egg twist. The distress signal leads him to the old Gotham clock tower. It's a tactical vantage point, usually secure, a hub for the Bat family's network. But tonight, the rain feels heavier here, washing away the grime, only to reveal something worse underneath. Inside, the shadows are wrong. They don't sit still. Batman finds the source of the signal. Red Hood. Jason Todd stands by the shattered Gothic window, looking out at the burning city.
"You hate Bruce,"
he says. But the voice isn't Jason's. It's a chorus of rotting throats layered over Jason's vocal cords. A polyphonic mockery of the man he used to be. Jason turns. The signature red helmet is gone. His face is a road map of gray veins and white, pupilless eyes. This is the twist that breaks the scientific method. Jason Todd is already dead. Or rather, he's undead again. The Deadite entity inside him doesn't just have his body, it has his trauma. This is the specific cruelty of the Kandarian infection. It's not a mindless rage virus like the infected in 28 Days Later. It's a sentient parasite with access to the host's hippocampus. It knows every failure, every secret, every regret. The Deadite smiles, tapping a crowbar against its palm. A weapon chosen specifically to trigger Batman's PTSD regarding Jason's original death at the hands of the Joker.
He beat me with a crowbar, Bruce. You let him live. Now I'm gonna beat you with it.
The fight that follows is a nightmare scenario for any tactician. Normally, Batman can outlast Jason. Jason is younger, stronger, and more aggressive, but he burns out. He gets angry. He makes mistakes. His muscles build up lactic acid. But a Deadite Red Hood has infinite stamina. The entity bypasses the body's fatigue toxins completely. It doesn't need oxygen to fuel the muscles. It fights with the precision of a League of Shadows assassin and the ferocity of a rabid animal. Batman is forced entirely on the defensive. He's not fighting a criminal. He's fighting his own guilt, weaponized and coming at him at 60 miles per hour. Every block sends a shockwave through Batman's already fractured ribs. He tries to reason with Jason, but that's a biological fallacy. There is no Jason in there right now. The neural pathways are being piloted by a frequency from another dimension. Batman realizes he cannot save him with medicine. There's no antidote for a soul displacement. He has to use the nuclear option of his utility belt. Deep in a lead-lined pouch, Batman carries a specific batarang. It's not steel. It's forged from nth metal, a substance with properties that defy standard physics, often capable of disrupting magical energy fields. In the Evil Dead lore, you need the Kandarian dagger to hurt demons. In the DC universe, nth metal is the closest scientific equivalent to an exorcism tool. It resonates on a frequency that disrupts paranormal cohesion. Batman catches the crowbar, the metal screeching, and drives the nth metal batarang into the Deadite's shoulder. The reaction is immediate. It's not biological pain, it's an energetic short circuit. The nth metal acts like a grounding rod for the possession signal. The Deadite screams, a sound like tearing metal, and the body collapses. Jason isn't cured, but the entity is suppressed. The signal jammed by the alien metal's resonance. This earns a Tier B. Surviving. Batman neutralized the threat, but the cost was catastrophic. He didn't win with logic. He survived with a contingency plan he hoped never to use. He leaves his fallen son incapacitated in a circle of nth metal dust, a makeshift containment field. He realizes this isn't a riot, it's an invasion. He can't punch his way out of this. He needs to close the door that let him in. He needs to translate the book. Battered, bleeding, and physiologically compromised, the Dark Knight retreats to the one place where science still holds court, the Batcave. The Exorcism Protocol, Wayne Manor. The Batmobile tires smoke as they hit the reinforced steel of the Batcave floor. The manor above is already compromised. The proximity alarms aren't just blaring, they are screaming. The Deadite Horde, led by the possessed cult leader from the alley, has breached the library. They are crawling through the grandfather clock entrance, their shrieks echoing down the limestone shaft. This is the final siege. Batman ignores the noise. He sprints to the main terminal. He doesn't need to fight him physically anymore. He needs to outthink the dimension they came from. He uploads the audio recording of the ritual he intercepted in Crime Alley. The Batcomputer doesn't analyze the linguistics of Klaatu, Varata, Niktu. It analyzes the waveform. Batman realizes that the incantation isn't a prayer, it's a sonic key. It's a specific vibrational frequency that unlocks and locks the dimensional gate. The Deadite force acts like a carrier wave hijacking a radio station. Batman just needs to broadcast a stronger signal to jam it. He begins synthesizing the counterfrequency. The computer requires 60 seconds to isolate the phonetics and amplify them to a citywide broadcast level. This requires diverting power from the entire Gotham grid. The monitors flicker as the power draw spikes. The cooling fans on the mainframe spin to maximum RPM to handle the load. It's a massive energy spike, comparable to a localized EMP blast, designed to flood every alley and asylum cell with the containment signal. But the blast door buckles. The cult leader drops onto the walkway, followed by a dozen possessed cultists. They move with that erratic, stop-motion twitching that defies skeletal structure. Batman activates the cave's internal suppression protocols. He doesn't use gas. He hits a switch that floods the cavern with high-intensity UV strobes. In the Evil Dead archives, sunlight is a known weakness. Batman strobes output the equivalent of a solar flare in a confined space, specifically tuned to the UVC spectrum to maximize cellular disruption. The Deadites recoil, their flesh blistering instantly under the radiation. It buys him 10 seconds, but the heat is immense. The leader lunges, ignoring the burning skin, driven by pure hate. He claws at Batman's cowl, the fingers digging into the reinforced synthetic weave. Batman catches the blow, his armor sparking, and uses the momentum to throw the creature into the abyss below the walkway. The computer chimes.
Translation complete.
Batman hits the enter key. The Wayne Enterprises emergency broadcast towers across Gotham ignite. They don't play a siren. They play a sound that the human ear can barely register, a discordant, multitonal inversion of the summoning spell. It hits the city like a physical wall. Inside the cave, the effect is instantaneous. The Deadites don't die, they simply stop. The animating force is severed. The bodies collapse like marionettes with cut strings. Piling up on the metal gantries, the screaming stops. The invasion didn't end with a bang, but with a broadcast. This earns a Tier S. Mastery. Batman didn't just survive. He reverse-engineered the supernatural. He treated magic as just another form of unexplained science, quantified it, and deleted it. The city's safe, the portal is closed, and the dead are finally quiet. Later, the only sound in the cave is the roar of the furnace. Batman watches the Necronomicon curl into ash behind the tempered glass. He doesn't trust the fire completely. He's already scanning the particulate matter for residual energy signatures. Physics eventually caught up to magic, but the cost was high. The door clicked shut behind him. There was no going back now. If you want to see how Batman's tech holds up against the acid blood of a xenomorph hive, hit that subscribe button and comment aliens below.